Can't wait to drag it on some rocks and dent it all to hell. Okay, just a little update here. So I've been bouncing around today a little bit because I kind of got distracted by the amount of work that needed to be done. So I took off the flares yesterday. I think I mentioned in a video that the previous owner ignored all the factory holes on the passenger side and just used self-drilling screws, front and rear flare. So I have many little holes to fill in. I am going to fill them in because I want to use the factory holes. If I ever switch flares, those are the holes that the new flares are going to use most likely. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these other ones in and use the factory ones. I went ahead with the hammer and dolly and went around and just flattened all the sheet metal out anywhere where it was bulged out, where the factory, the little hexagon holes, that's for the factory flare, and there's some in the front too, or there were, for the spats. Hammered those flat, and I did a little bit of work with the sanding pad, cleaned up around these holes where there was some rust and paint bubbling, just to see how bad it was. This is the worst spot. It looks like it might be through the spot weld, so I'm gonna dig a little bit at that and try to get all that rust out. Everything else got drilled out to 3/4 inch, and we'll get a plug hole, or a hole, you know, disc. I also drilled out some of these spat holes to 1/2 inch. They'll also get a disc, and I've got it pretty much cleaned up to where I want it. Everything's straight, everything's flat. Under here, I've cleaned up some of the torque box to get ready for painting, but I still need to do a little bit more. I had to dig out the old riv nuts because the studs were hanging out and keeping me from putting the new rock rail on. So we're gonna grab the jack and get the rock rail up in place. I'm gonna do a quick sweep first, get it up in place, get my clamps, and get prepared for drilling the tub. Once the tub is drilled, I can then start finalizing the rock rail and also start working on welding up some of these holes, which I'm probably going to try to get this side welded up today and see how it goes. But that's where we're at. Let's keep going. Then we're just going to drill holes, bunch of holes, all the way down the sucker. I got to take the seatbelt out because one of the holes goes behind the seatbelt. Double check my measurements, and it might need to go forward just a hair. I'll have to see if I can take a look at where that other hole is. Yes, 7 inches from the tip of this to the body line. So I am about 3/8 of an inch too far back. So I'm gonna have to adjust that before I screw holes in, because what that does is that actually throws off my, I have this hole and this hole planned, so they come out at the exact spot on the inside of the tub where there's a flat spot where I can drill holes through it. So let's pull this down and fiddle with that metal part, hammer it into submission, and then we can tack it up and pull it back down and see what's what. We'll get that close here in a second. So let's pull it down and try to fix it up. Okay, so I now have this lined up where I want it. I still need to work on that bottom flat part, but I have it lined up how I want it to sit on the Jeep. It's flush against the bottom of the rocker, as high up as it can go, as far as I can tell. And I ended up drawing a line, so my body line is lined up now. Now the fun part, drilling holes. This side you don't really have much to worry Okay, so those are on there now. Basically what I got to do is just secure that kind of lower piece and then drill my holes for the vertical bolts. Now those will get drilled to 3/8, but I will have to go in with a slightly bigger bit to make room for the nut certs. So I'll do that when I'm done. But so that's what we have to do. We have to get that bottom flat fit, get all the holes drilled for the nut certs, take this all back down, and then put it back up there, and go ahead and get the put the flares kind of in place and clamp them so I can see where the flare lines are, and then make my get my rock rail bar actually bolted on there. I want to do that with all the bolts in, bottom, front, top, this hidden one, all that, because when I tack that bar, if the bar makes this move, I don't want to have a problem. These holes are tight. I'm not giving myself any wiggle room. I want these tight. So if I tack it heavy tack, I might even fully weld it because I don't really care about the paint behind there. I'm going to be repainting it. So I might even fully weld them in place. We'll see. So anyway, I'm going to do all that. I'll cut you back on. The next thing you're going to see is probably me fitting the rail. You don't need to see me doing all this off and on. So, all right. I've got this fit. I've got it put between the flares. It's the height that I want. I can get to the bolts. I can get to this. The step's going to be okay. This is where the step's going to go. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and burn them on. Now, my fit up on these isn't perfect, so I'm going to skip around a bunch and just try my best not to make it look like dog crap, but no guarantees. I guess we'll see how it goes. I might need to pull my welder closer though. I am out of space. That's it. That's all I got. Hopefully that's enough to get around the front. Otherwise I'll do that off the Jeep. So anyway, here we go. Let's put some weld on it. Okay, y'all, here it is. Now, I know, I skipped the step. I made, and pun intended, I made the step. I will make a separate video on how I made the step. But here you go. It's all bolted in. It's not fully welded yet. I got to finish welding, but A lot of it's welded. I got my dimple dies. Check that out. Looking sweet. I definitely probably warped it from welding. You can see that gap right there from all that heat, but it is what it is. I knew that was going to happen. I was too impatient to do tiny little stitch welds and cool it down in between. I definitely think they're going to, not that that's the same as slamming it on a rock, but they are definitely going to be stout. There's no way that there's going to be a problem. Just a little bit of an upturn. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Here's the underside. You can see I'm tied in a bunch of spots. So, tomorrow, or the next time I get to work, I'll be zipping up holes, trying to clean the rest of that black stuff off, zipping up holes, and getting the flares ready to remount. I want to do that before I paint these, before I pull this off and fully weld it, because I have to make one more hole there, and I might see if I can do it from the back side where the factory hole was, which is right here, which is kind of an odd space. So I'm almost wishing I would have left a little whoop-de-doo there. So we'll see what we can do. Same with the front. There should be a flare hole somewhere around here. I don't know, somewhere there. If not, I'm going to put one. That's where I'm at. I made my little spoon here. So this is a piece of copper pipe, folded over, hammered flat, and basically what I do is I'll just put this right behind here for this little hole. See that little hole? Put the copper pipe right there. Couple zaps. This will come off. Grind that flat. Done. I'm going to be repainting everything under the flares and under the rockers with what I think is a pretty close match to this. It's bright silver metallic, but it's a different paint code. Whatever. You're not going to see it, but it should protect it. Eventually, the whole tub's going to get painted. It's going to have to. There's too many little things that I don't like about it. So, yeah, that's where we're at today. Pretty happy with that. Everything's pretty even. This sucker is probably going to melt my shoe, but yeah. Yeah, I'm stoked. That works great. Can't wait to drag it on some rocks and dent it all to hell. So I'll finish welding that up another day, and I'm going to get to the other side. And then basically once these are done, they're going to come off. Then it's just going to be working on the Jeep, filling in the holes, smoothing out the thing. While it's on there, I'm actually going to run a tape line so I know where my top of my rocker is, rock rail is, so I know how far down I can sand. But yeah, that's it. I'm loving that. I think it looks great. The step's not centered in the doorway. I kind of tried to keep things symmetrical, so like most of the bolts are equidistant, except for that one in the back there because there's a goofy bracket. And then I lined up the step, center hole of the step with that center bolt to try to give it some symmetry. Just happens to fall between those two outriggers too. So I'm cool with that. When you're sitting in the Jeep, you'll be able to put your foot there if the doors are off. Give you a place to rest your foot. But cool. All right.